how to start it. Okay, so for today we're going to do two topics. We're going to do power rule and we're going to do chain rule. And for power rule, this is the formula. This is the formula to find the derivative using power rule. So for the first example, we're going to have fx equals 3x squared. And if you follow the formula, you'll have the 3, you'll rewrite it down, and then you subtract a 1 from the exponent. So you have an exponent of 1, and then the original exponent, you'll multiply it by your coefficient. So you have 2 times 3. So your answer will be 6x. So another example, we'll have fx equals 5x to the power of 4/5. So we're doing a fraction this time. And what you do is you multiply this exponent by the coefficient. So you have 4/5 times 5/1. Because any number, any whole number, like a 5 or 6, it's always over a 1. And then you have x to the power of 4/5, and you subtract it by 1. But you want the denominator to be the same, so you can subtract. So 1 is the same as 5/5 minus. So once you multiply these, the 5 on the bottom and the top cancel out, so you have 4, because 4/1 is 4. And then you have x, and 4 minus 5 is -1/5. Now, when you have a negative exponent, you always want your exponent to be a positive. So you move it to the bottom. So you have 4 over x and 1 to the 5th power. Okay. And for the third example, we're going to do fx equals 5x to the -2 power. So we're going to do another negative exponent here. So when you have a negative exponent on the top, you're going to subtract by 1. So you're going to have that -2 times the coefficient, x, and then 2 minus 1, -2 minus 1 is -3. So you're going to have -10 x to the power of -3, and then you move it to the bottom. So you have -10 over x to the power of 3. So for number 4, it's fx equals 2x3 plus x 2/3 minus 6x to the power of 10. So this is going to be our more difficult one. So for the first one, you do the same thing. You do 3 minus 2 and then x, and then 3 minus 1 is 2. And then you add it with x to the power of 2/3, which is 2/3 times x, and then 2/3 minus 3/3, because that's 1, gives you -1/3, and then minus, and then you have the exponent, so 10 times 6 x to the power of 9. So then you just want to can simplify this. So 3 times 2 is 6, and then x squared plus 2/3 x to -1/3 minus 60 x to the power of 9. And then you rewrite it again, and this time you put this exponent on the bottom so it becomes a positive. So you leave the 2 on the top, and you put the x to the power of 1/3 on the bottom with the 3. Then you subtract 60 x to the power of 9. Okay, and now on to chain rule. So for a chain rule, the formula is this. So it's f of gx equals f derivative, and then you leave the gx, times g derivative. And for this one, we're also going to use, we're going to work with trig functions, such as sine, cosine, and tangent. So we're going to have some rules for you. So sine of x equals cosine of x. And this is when you take the derivative of sine. And cosine of x, derivative of that is negative sine of x. And tan of x equals secant squared of x. And secant x equals secant x times tan x. And cosecant x equals negative cosecant x times cotangent. And cotangent, the derivative of this equals negative cosecant x squared. So for the first example, we have fx equals 2 parenthesis 2x to the power of 2 to the power of 2. So when you do chain rule, you do the same rule, so you get this 2 exponent, and you multiply it by this coefficient, so it's 2 times 2, and then you just copy this back down. So then you have 2x squared, and the same thing applies here. So once you multiply it here, you also have to subtract it by 1. So it's an imaginary power to 1, which you don't need to write down. And then you also put, as you can see in the formula, you put the derivative of the inside of this parenthesis. So you do multiply it times, you do the same rules. So minus 1, and then you multiply by 2. So then you have that times 4x. So you're going to end up with 2 times 2 is 4, and then times 2 again, that's 8. And then you have 8x squared times 4x. And you can leave this as your answer, or you can put 8x squared times 4x, which is 32x to the power of 3. So that would be your final answer. So for our second example, do fx equals cosine of 5x, and all of this to the power of 2. So what you're going to do is you're going to keep this cosine of 5x. This is going to stay. And then all of it's to the power of 2, which minus 1 is 1. And then again, you are going to multiply this by 2, because you're multiplying this coefficient by the imaginary 1 there. And if you look back here, the derivative of cosine is negative sine. So then you're going to multiply it by negative sine 5x. So then, once you have this, you're gonna simplify this down. You have negative sine. You're gonna have negative 2 sine of 5x times cosine of 5x times 5. So that would be a negative 10. Because you also need to take that derivative of the cosine of the 5x here, which is 5. So for our third example, we're going to have f of x equals 2 times parenthesis 4x plus x squared to the power of 1/2. So you're going to get this 1/2, you're going to multiply by the 2, so you're going to have 1. And then you're going to copy this down, 4x plus x squared, because that stays the same. And then 1/2 minus 1, which is 2 over 2, gives you negative 1/2. And then you have, multiply that by 4 plus 2x. So since this is a negative, we're going to move it to the bottom. So we're going to have 4 plus 2x over 4x plus x squared to the power of 1/2. And that'll be your answer. And for our fourth example, which we'll have right here, we're going to have f of x equals 6x to the power of 3 plus 2x to the power of 100. And then you close it. So this is going to be our difficult one for a chain rule. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to keep that 6 on the outside. And since you have these bars going around the whole thing, you're going to keep that there. And you do the 100 times the imaginary 1. So you have 100 times x to the power of 3 plus 2x to the power of 99, because 100 minus 1 is 99, times the derivative of this inside, which is 3x squared plus 2. And then you're going to close this off. So once you multiply the 6 by the inside, you're going to get 600, then x to the power of 3 plus 2x to the power of 99 times 3x squared plus 2. And with this one, you can also multiply this 600 times each of these numbers within, but since it's such a large number, I decided we should just leave it. But for future reference, you know to multiply that. So that'll be all for this video. Thank you.